Imagine this. Your father passes away, leaving behind a massive fortune. Mansions, cars, companies, everything. But none of it comes to you. Instead, your relatives inherit it all. And what do you get? Just an old, dusty journal. At first, it feels like nothing, until you realize this isn't just paper. Inside lies a hidden letter that reveals shocking family secrets and a dark past revelation. What started as a humiliating inheritance quickly became the most powerful storytelling YouTube journey of my life. This is the story of how a forgotten mystery journal exposed the hidden truth behind my father's legacy and changed everything. The day my father's will was read is burned into my memory forever. I walked into the lawyer's office expecting grief, but not betrayal. My father was a respected man, wealthy, influential, the type of person whose empire shaped lives. When he passed away, I assumed I would at least inherit something meaningful, maybe even a part of his company. But instead, I found myself living a dramatic inheritance story straight out of a novel. They inherited my father's fortune, the lawyer announced, pointing to my cousins and uncles. Their faces lit up with greed as each asset was listed: properties, cars, stocks, even the entire business empire. And you, the lawyer continued, looking at me with pity, you receive this. He slid a small package across the polished table. Not money, not land, just an old leather journal, faded, cracked, and smelling of dust. The whispers behind me stung. How pathetic. He only got a book. I clenched it in my hands, humiliated but also confused. Why would my father, a man who built an empire, leave me this while giving everyone else millions? That night, in the silence of my apartment, I opened it. The first pages were filled with handwriting, sketches, even fragments of poetry. It felt personal, intimate, almost like stepping into his mind. Then, tucked between the pages, I found something that made my heart race. An envelope, sealed. My father's handwriting across the front. For my child, read when you are ready. My pulse quickened. This wasn't just a forgotten notebook. This was a hidden truth, a family secret waiting to be revealed. And I realized this mystery journal might be worth more than all the fortune in the world. I sat in silence, staring at the envelope resting in my trembling hands. The words, "For my child, read when you are ready," burned into my mind. My father had been gone for weeks, and yet, at that moment, it felt like he was sitting across from me, watching to see if I was truly ready. My breath caught as I carefully tore the envelope open. Inside was a folded letter, written in the same steady handwriting I had seen throughout the journal. My father's voice, his presence, seemed to rise from the page as I began to read. My child, if you are reading this, it means you have been left with what may seem like nothing. But trust me, this journal holds more power than any fortune, mansion, or company I could give you. I left the wealth to others because I know greed destroys. What I left you is the truth, and the truth will set you free. I froze. My heart pounded. This wasn't just a sentimental message. It was a key to something bigger. My father hadn't overlooked me. He had chosen me. The letter continued. There are secrets in our family, buried deep. I kept them hidden because I wanted to protect you. But now, the time has come for you to uncover them. The journal is not complete. It contains clues, entries, sketches, and codes that will lead you to a hidden part of my life, and perhaps to what was truly meant for you. I swallowed hard, my hands shaking as I clutched the paper. This was no ordinary inheritance. This was a hidden letter revelation, A map to unravel family secrets I never knew existed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I reread the letter over and over, the words echoing in my head like whispers from the grave. The thought of my cousins celebrating their new wealth while I sat in a dimly lit room with only a journal and a letter might have seemed pathetic to anyone else. But to me, it felt like destiny. Because if my father trusted me with the truth, it meant he believed I was the only one strong enough to handle it. The next morning, I returned to the journal. The first pages no longer felt like scattered memories. They looked like clues in an inheritance mystery. Dates were written with strange symbols next to them. Drawings of places I had never seen before appeared between his usual notes. And then I noticed something even stranger. Certain words were underlined in a pattern, almost like a code. As I traced the lines with my finger, I felt a surge of determination. The letter had said the journal was incomplete, that it was meant to guide me. Could this be the beginning of a treasure hunt? Or was it something darker? Something that explained why my father had kept these secrets hidden all his life. But before I could piece it together, something in the letter's final paragraph shook me to my core. Be careful who you trust. The fortune I left to others may not be what it seems. Behind the wealth is a darkness I tried to keep you away from. If you follow the path of this journal, you will learn the truth, but it will come with danger. You may lose friends, you may even lose family. Only continue if you are prepared to sacrifice. I gasped, clutching the paper so tightly it nearly tore. My father had left me not just a message, but a warning. The inheritance wasn't only about money or property. It was tied to something dangerous, something that could destroy me if I wasn't careful. For hours, I sat in that room, staring at the journal and the letter, torn between fear and curiosity. Part of me wanted to shove the envelope back inside, lock it away, and forget it ever existed. But another part of me, stronger, louder, refused to ignore it. Because my father's last words to me weren't about love, or loss, or regret. They were about the hidden truth. And he believed I was the one who could handle it. As the night fell once again, I made my choice. I would follow the clues. I would uncover the family secrets he buried. I would learn what my father really left me, whether it was a fortune, a curse, or something far more dangerous. And little did I know, the first clue was closer than I imagined. The journal sat open on my desk, its worn leather cover creaking every time I turned a page. The hidden letter had warned me. This wasn't just a book of memories. It was a map, a puzzle, a legacy. And somewhere inside, it held the first clue that would change my life forever. I leaned closer, scanning the pages under the warm glow of my lamp. At first, all I saw were scattered notes, reflections about business deals, observations about people, fragments of poetry he had written late at night. But then, my eyes landed on something strange, an entry dated exactly 1 year before his death. Unlike the other pages, this one was filled with odd symbols and words underlined in bold strokes. It looked chaotic, almost like he had been in a hurry. But when I read it carefully, I realized it was deliberate. The entry began with a simple line. The truth is buried where the foundation begins. I frowned. What foundation? Was he talking about the family company? Our childhood home? Or something deeper? Something symbolic? As I flipped back through earlier pages, I noticed the same phrase popping up again and again. hidden in between ordinary notes. Foundation. Foundation? Foundation. It wasn't random. My father had left this breadcrumb trail on purpose. Curiosity turned into obsession. I spent hours that night tracing his handwriting, circling words, connecting dots. Soon, a pattern emerged. Certain letters in his underlined words formed a hidden message. When I pieced them together, they spelled out a location. The cellar! My heart skipped a beat. Growing up, the cellar in our old family house was strictly off limits. My father never explained why. He just said it was unsafe, filled with old tools and broken shelves. I remember once sneaking down there as a child, only to be dragged out before I could even look around. Now, years later, here it was again, written in code inside his journal, waiting for me to rediscover it. The next morning, I drove to our family's old house. The estate had been given to one of my uncles in the inheritance, but I still had a spare key. The house felt lifeless, abandoned in spirit even though it was perfectly intact. Dust coated the furniture, and the air smelled like memories I wasn't ready to face. My footsteps echoed as I made my way toward the cellar door. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the lock, feeling a chill crawl up my spine. It was as if my father's warning echoed in my head. Be careful who you trust. Behind the wealth is a darkness. But I had come this far. I couldn't stop now. I unlocked the door and descended into the cellar. The air was cold, damp, heavy with silence. The faint light from a single bulb revealed stacks of old boxes, broken furniture, and tools rusted with time. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a forgotten storage space. But then I remembered the journal's exact words. The truth is buried where the foundation begins. I ran my hand along the stone wall, tapping gently. Most of it sounded solid, but when I reached the far corner, the sound changed, a hollow echo. My pulse quickened. I pushed aside a pile of dusty crates and felt the wall more closely. That's when I noticed it, a small crack running along the mortar, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. With trembling hands, I pried at the loose stone. It resisted at first, but then, with a sharp pull, it gave way. Behind it was a small, hidden compartment built right into the foundation. Inside, wrapped in layers of cloth, was another envelope. My chest tightened. I carefully unfolded the cloth, revealing my father's handwriting again. If you have found this, you are ready for the next step. I sank to the ground, my back against the wall, clutching the envelope. My father had left me a secret code, a hidden truth buried in the very foundation of our home, and he trusted that only I would have the determination to uncover it. I opened the envelope. Inside were several documents, old photographs, letters, and what looked like property deeds. But tucked between them was something that made my blood run cold. A photograph of my father, standing beside a man I had never seen before. A man whose face was crossed out in black ink. On the back, in my father's handwriting, were just 3 words. Do not trust. The room seemed to spin around me. Who was this man? Why had my father gone to such lengths to hide his identity? And why warn me about him, even from beyond the grave? I stuffed the papers back into the envelope and clutched the journal tighter. One thing was clear. This wasn't just about inheritance anymore. This was about uncovering a shocking revelation. a secret my father had hidden to protect me. And now, for better or worse, it was mine to uncover. I couldn't stop thinking about the photograph. My father standing beside a man whose face had been crossed out in black ink. The simple words on the back, "Do not trust," haunted me. Who was he? Why had my father warned me? And why had he gone to such lengths to erase this man from our family history? I spent the next morning researching, combing through old newspapers, social media posts, and public records. Every lead pointed to dead ends. The man in the photograph seemed to exist only in the shadows of my father's life, leaving no trace in the public eye. It was like he had been erased entirely. Back in my apartment, I pored over the mystery journal again, searching for any hint, any clue my father might have left about this man. And then I found it, a small doodle on the margin of a page I had overlooked before. It was a sketch of a symbol, a triangle with 3 lines inside. Below it, a single word: Eden. The word sent chills down my spine. Could this be a code? A location? Something connected to the man in the photograph? My father had never mentioned Eden in any of the letters or notes I had seen before. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to confront one of my father's oldest friends, someone who had been with him before the fortune, before the company, before the empire. Someone who might know the secrets my father had died protecting. I called Richard, a man in his late 70s, who had helped my father start his business decades ago. His voice was hesitant when he answered. I hear you found the journal," he said cautiously. "And the letter?" "Yes," I replied. "Do you know anything about this man?" There was silence on the other end, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Finally, Richard said, "You're talking about someone dangerous, someone your father tried to shield you from. He warned me, too, when I asked him about it. He called him Victor Kline. He's not just a business rival. He's dangerous in ways you can't imagine, and your father never trusted him, not for a second." Victor Kline. The name alone sent a shiver down my spine. The man in the photograph had a name, and it was tied to danger. My father had warned me, "Do not trust." And yet there I was, holding the clues that might lead me straight into the heart of the secret my father had been protecting all his life. Richard continued, his voice trembling slightly. "Your father, he made mistakes. He thought he could control Victor. But Victor, he doesn't forgive. He doesn't forget. That photo you found, that's all that remains from a day that changed everything. If you go looking for answers, be very careful. And if you find Eden, make sure you understand what you're stepping into." The word Eden burned in my mind. It was more than a clue. It was a warning. My father's hidden truth wasn't just about money. It was about survival, about uncovering a shocking revelation that could destroy me if I wasn't careful. I went back to the journal, piecing together everything I had discovered so far. Dates, sketches, cryptic notes, they all pointed toward something or someone connected to Eden. And I realized that Victor Kline wasn't just a person from my father's past. He was a living threat, one that might still be lingering, waiting for anyone foolish enough to follow the breadcrumbs. As I stared at the photograph again, the man's crossed-out face seemed to taunt me. My father had hidden more than wealth. He had hidden danger, betrayal, and a story that could change everything I thought I knew about my family. I knew then that the next step was inevitable. I had to find Eden, and I had to understand the role Victor Kline played in my father's life and in the inheritance that had been stolen from me. But I wasn't sure if I was ready for the truths I would uncover. That night, I made a plan. I would trace every clue in the journal, every sketch and symbol, every coded word. I would uncover the mystery journal's hidden truths, even if it meant facing danger, because this was more than inheritance. This was my father's legacy, his warning, his secret. And I knew one thing for certain. The man in the photograph, Victor Kline, was at the center of it all. By the time I put the journal down, I felt a mixture of fear and determination. The hidden truth was out there, waiting, and I was the only one who could follow the trail. Little did I know, Eden was closer than I had imagined, and Victor Kline had not forgotten. The moment I decided to find Eden, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The clues in the mystery journal, the hidden letter, the photograph of Victor Kline, all pointed to this place, shrouded in secrecy. My father's warning echoed in my mind. Be careful who you trust. Yet despite the fear gnawing at me, I knew I had to continue. I packed my bag with the essentials: water, a flashlight, a notebook to document everything, and the journal itself. Every item felt heavy with meaning, as if each carried the weight of my father's legacy. I left a note for a friend I could trust, a small precaution in case things went wrong. The journey ahead was dangerous, but the truth was worth it. The directions in the journal were cryptic at first. Symbols, sketches, and fragmented words pointed me toward a remote location outside the city. Days of travel brought me through winding roads, dense forests, and abandoned villages. I relied on the hidden clues in the journal like a map, each one unlocking a step closer to Eden. Along the way, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every rustle in the trees, every shadow in the distance made my heart race. Victor Kline's name haunted me constantly. My father had warned about him for a reason. The thought that this man could be following me sent chills down my spine. As I neared the coordinates, the landscape began to change. Mountains rose sharply, casting shadows over narrow valleys. Streams cut through the rocks, their waters reflecting the golden light of dusk. I could almost feel the presence of something hidden, something my father had protected me from discovering too soon. Finally, after days of travel, I found it. Eden. Not a city, not a mythical place, but a secluded estate hidden deep in the mountains. Its walls were overgrown with ivy, the gates rusted, and the windows darkened with age. It looked abandoned, yet a sense of power lingered in the air. The place exuded mystery, as if it held the shocking revelations my father had wanted only me to see. Before entering, I consulted the journal one last time. A passage I had overlooked now seemed crucial. Eden holds the truth. What you find there will reveal not only the past, but the reason why your inheritance was denied. Trust your instincts, and remember, the man in the shadows may not be who he seems. I realized then that Eden wasn't just a location. It was a test, a final puzzle in the inheritance mystery that would reveal the hidden truth of my father's life and the family secrets he had protected until his death. I pushed open the heavy gates, stepping into the overgrown courtyard. Each step echoed through the silence, the only sound being my own heartbeat. The main building loomed before me, its doors locked but showing signs of recent use. There were footprints in the dust, faint but undeniable. My mind raced. Could Victor Kline already be here? Was this journey going to lead me into a trap? My father's warnings rang louder than ever, but I had come too far to turn back now. Inside the estate, I discovered rooms filled with old documents, photographs, and ledgers, evidence of my father's hidden dealings, the choices he had made, and the enemies he had tried to avoid. Among these relics, I found more letters from my father, written in the margins of notebooks, tucked into drawers. They revealed the depth of his fears and the sacrifices he had made to protect me from Victor Kline. One note stood out. The final truth awaits in the heart of Eden. Only you can uncover it. Everything else is smoke and mirrors. At that moment, I understood that Eden was not merely a place, it was the epicenter of my father's life, the location where all hidden truths converged. And I was the only one who could see the pieces fit together. As night fell, the estate transformed under the moonlight. Shadows lengthened, and every creaking floorboard felt like a warning. I knew that Victor Kline's influence was never far, and that the dramatic inheritance story my father had orchestrated could easily turn into a dangerous confrontation. Yet, despite the fear, I felt a sense of purpose. This journey to Eden was more than about uncovering wealth. It was about reclaiming my father's legacy, discovering the emotional truths he had left for me, and confronting the dangers that had haunted our family for decades. By the end of the night, I sat in the main hall of Eden, the mystery journal open on my lap, piecing together the clues my father had left. Each symbol, each underlined word, each letter now pointed toward a single objective: the truth about Victor Kline and the hidden inheritance that had been denied to me. I knew that tomorrow, the real journey would begin. The confrontation with the shadows of the past. The unveiling of secrets that could change everything I thought I knew about my father, my family, and myself. Eden was no longer a destination. It was a proving ground. The first light of dawn crept through the dusty windows of Eden. After a night of restless planning and revisiting the mystery journal, I knew today would change everything. I wasn't just following clues anymore. I was about to uncover the hidden truth my father had spent a lifetime protecting, and the shocking revelations would shake the foundation of our family forever. I began by examining the documents I had found the night before. Ledgers, letters, photographs, all pieces of a complex puzzle. My father had meticulously chronicled events that no one outside our family could have known. There were records of secret partnerships, hidden assets, and even letters from people who claimed ownership of parts of his company. It wasn't just business. It was a story of deception, betrayal, and family secrets kept from me my entire life. Among the papers, I discovered a series of letters addressed to Victor Kline. They were written in the months before my father's death. At first, I hesitated, knowing the man had been warned about, but the letters revealed a deeper truth than I could have imagined. Victor had been trying to manipulate my father, not just for the company, but to gain control over an inheritance my father had specifically hidden from the rest of the family. The tone of the letters was tense, almost desperate. My father wrote about safeguarding me, about the dangerous secret that Victor would stop at nothing to obtain. And then, in one letter, he referenced Eden. Eden holds what he cannot reach, My child must find it, for only they will understand its purpose and protect it from him. I realized that everything, the journal, the letters, the photograph, even my initial disappointment in the inheritance, had been a deliberate path my father had laid out for me. He had been training me, guiding me through a dramatic inheritance story, preparing me for the day I would uncover the truth. The most chilling discovery came next. A small, locked box, hidden beneath the floorboards of the main hall. The journal had hinted at its existence, marking a symbol I had interpreted as a triangle. I held my breath as I carefully opened it. Inside was a collection of documents detailing the true extent of my father's wealth, properties, accounts, and assets that had never been disclosed in the will. But that wasn't all. There were also personal letters, diaries, and even confessions revealing a side of my father I had never known. His struggles with trust in the family, the betrayal by people he once considered friends, the sacrifices he made to shield me from Victor Kline's manipulations. It was a trove of emotional storytelling, showing the man behind the empire, the father who had loved me quietly but strategically, ensuring that I would survive even when the rest of the family sought only greed. As I absorbed these revelations, I began to understand the depth of the journal's purpose. Every sketch, every coded word, every cryptic phrase had been carefully placed to lead me here, to the secrets unveiled that would explain why I had received nothing from the inheritance at first glance. And then, a final note caught my attention. It was written in my father's handwriting, but sealed in an envelope I hadn't seen before. My child, if you have reached this point, you now hold the truth. The fortune I left to others is only a fraction of what is real. The real legacy is knowledge, protection, and understanding of our family's history. Use it wisely, be brave, and beware Victor Kline, for he has not forgotten. I felt a wave of emotion I couldn't contain. Anger at the betrayal, sorrow for the years lost, but also gratitude for the hidden truth my father had entrusted to me. He had ensured that I would inherit more than just money. I would inherit knowledge, strategy, and the responsibility to protect what was ours. By noon, I had pieced together a detailed map from the documents and journal entries. I understood the full scale of Victor Kline's threat and the lengths my father had gone to protect me. Eden had been a sanctuary, a vault of wisdom and resources designed to guide me safely through a world of treachery. I realized then that my journey wasn't just about uncovering a mystery journal or reclaiming a fortune. It was about confronting the darkness that had shadowed my family for decades, understanding my father's life choices, and stepping into the role he had prepared me for. Eden had revealed its secrets, but it also posed a new challenge. The real test wasn't over. Victor Kline was still out there. The dramatic inheritance story my father had orchestrated was far from complete. As night fell over Eden, I sat in the main hall, journal open, letters spread around me. I felt the weight of my father's legacy settle on my shoulders. The secrets had been unveiled, but with them came responsibility, danger, and a final choice. Would I follow the path he had set for me, confront Victor Kline, and claim the inheritance that was rightfully mine? Or would I step back, letting the shadows of the past continue to control the story of my family? I knew the answer. The journey to hidden truth and justice was far from over. The sun had barely risen over Eden when I knew it was time. I had uncovered the hidden truth my father had protected me from, pieced together the family secrets, and learned the extent of Victor Kline's schemes. Now, it was time for the final confrontation. I double-checked the journal and letters one last time. Every clue, every code, every symbol my father had left behind now led me to this moment. The mystery journal wasn't just a guide. It was a shield and a weapon, a record of knowledge that could protect me if I used it wisely. Victor Kline arrived just as I had feared. His presence was imposing, his expression unreadable. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed a mixture of curiosity and calculation. He had underestimated me, assuming that the inheritance would remain in his grasp or that I would fail before reaching Eden. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice cold, almost amused. "Your father thought he could hide everything from me. But I always find what I want." I took a deep breath. "My father didn't leave this for you, Victor. It was never yours to take. Everything you see here, Eden, the journal, the letters, it was meant for me. And now, I know the truth." The tension was palpable. Every step, every glance, every second felt like a lifetime. I held the journal tightly, aware that it contained not just the hidden inheritance, but the culmination of decades of planning, secrets, and strategies. Victor lunged at me suddenly, trying to seize the journal, but I anticipated his move. Years of following my father's meticulous clues had prepared me for this moment. I sidestepped him, using the knowledge he never expected me to have. "You underestimated him," I said, holding my ground. "And you underestimated me. My father prepared me for this. He left me more than money. He left me wisdom, foresight, and the tools to protect what is ours." Victor's face twisted with anger. "You think a book and a few papers can stop me?" I smiled, knowing it wasn't just the journal. It was every lesson, every secret, every revelation my father had given me. "It's not just a book, Victor. It's everything you never understood about my father's legacy, and I'm ready to claim it." The confrontation wasn't just physical, it was strategic. Every move I made, every word I spoke, echoed the lessons hidden in the journal. Victor realized too late that the inheritance mystery wasn't about wealth alone. It was about knowledge, cunning, and the ability to navigate the shadows of our family's past. By the end of the encounter, Victor had no choice but to retreat, forced to acknowledge the truth my father had built into every page, every letter, every secret of Eden. I had won, not through force alone, but by uncovering the shocking revelations my father had painstakingly left for me. As I watched him leave, a sense of peace settled over Eden. The danger had passed, at least for now. I walked through the estate, feeling the weight of my father's legacy and the magnitude of what I had inherited. Not just wealth, but knowledge, strategy, and the responsibility to protect our family. I carefully stored the journal, letters, and documents. They were more than tools. They were a testament to my father's life, his sacrifices, and the family secrets he had shielded me from. That night, I sat in the main hall, reflecting on the journey. From the day I had been denied my inheritance, to uncovering the first clue, facing Victor Kline, and finally revealing the hidden truth, I realized something profound. My father's greatest gift wasn't the fortune, it was the story, the wisdom, and the preparation that allowed me to survive, thrive, and claim my rightful place in our family history. The dramatic inheritance story had come full circle. I was no longer just a child, left out of the fortune. I was the guardian of our hidden legacy, the one chosen to understand the truth, protect it, and ensure it survived for generations. As I closed the journal one last time, I whispered a quiet thanks to my father. His plan had worked. His secrets had been unveiled, and I had risen to the challenge. Eden was no longer just a place of mystery. It was a symbol of resilience, knowledge, and the enduring power of family. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. The journey had been perilous, emotional, and full of shocking revelations. But I had finally stepped into my father's shoes, embracing the inheritance mystery and the responsibility that came with it. This was more than a story about wealth. It was about courage, survival, and uncovering the hidden truths that shape our lives. And now, I was ready to carry forward the father's legacy, no matter what challenges lay ahead.